Today is a basics day, which means the gymnastics I'm doing is not necessarily the hardest gymnastics that I can do, but it is a day where I take the time to really calibrate to every single event that I'm doing and also focus on my technique and form. So for today, I'll just be providing a commentary of what I'm doing and why it's pretty important. After our usual 30-minute warm-up, we go into pad drills, which is basically just basic handstand movements and rolls, getting our bodies ready and adjusted for the week. So here's a quick time lapse of what the pad drills looks like for us. As you can see, I start off with some splits, then some handstand walks and pirouettes. Then I do some more rolls and some more handstand refinement drills. There I just did some backward rolls, and now I did some backward rolls with some spins. And then from there, I'm doing a shoulder flexibility exercise, and then some more mobility. Then these are stick drills. I mean, you can't really see them because it's going so quickly. And I did some round offs and just a couple more basic tumbling drills. Now I'm moving to tumble track, where I'm doing some basic whips, back handsprings, and layouts. Just getting calibrated to not only the tumble track and floor, but also to the feeling of really squeezing my muscles and being tight as I'm tumbling. Now I'm moving on to front layouts and whips, and this is just pretty much doing what I was doing before, but inverted, so that I'm landing forwards and getting a feel of forward tumbling. For one of the final exercises that I do on tumble track, I do a combination of both back tumbling and front tumbling. So I'll do a back whip to a whip half to a front layout. And this is just a good combination of getting everything together and really feeling those movements and focusing on precise technique. On basics days, I pick one skill on every event that I do to improve on, either the technique or the difficulty. So for today, I'm working on the technical aspect for the 2.5 twisting front flip, also known as the Randy. So one of the more technical issues that I have with the 2.5 twist is the extend into the wrap. It's pretty difficult for me to translate that. I really understand it conceptually, but translating it physically is pretty difficult. So the trampoline helps me figure that out. So before I actually start doing the 2.5 twists, I'll do a 1.5 first, where I really focus on fully extending my arm behind my back and then wrapping, so that I just really spin when I go for the spin. Also, this is a little bit of an exaggerated technical fix, because on the real floor, I won't really have time to bring my arm all the way behind my back before I wrap a 2.5 twist. So it just helps me figure out that motion. In reality, it'll be much quicker and my arm will probably be bent, so it can initiate the twist faster. Next up is ring basics. So before I start that, I always do some shoulder prep, because if you don't, then you're much more likely to pull a small muscle up in your shoulders. So I usually just grab a band and do some rotator cuff work and arm circles with the band to get my shoulders warmed up and ready for some real rings. Now for my first real turn on rings, I do a cast to handstand, and then from there I lower to invert, which is a pretty high invert though, and then I go back giant, lower once again to a semi-high invert, and then from there I do a front giant. If I do it over the pit, then I'll add in a basic dismount. If not, then I'll just jump down, and I do this twice. For rings, my skill that I work on is usually just a lot more strength. So that'll either be a planche max out, a Maltese max out, a cross max out, or a combination of all three of those. So today I did a handstand lower to a planche max out, and then I did a handstand lower to Maltese max out. Okay, so now I'm moving on to high bar. That was a pretty successful Monday basics for rings. Was feeling pretty strong on that flange and Maltese. Obviously there's some work to do on both, but let's get into high bar. So on high bar, my first turn is usually just a set of warm-up giants. So as you can see, here's my first turn. So I do a mount and I put my arm up to the side. That's just kind of for style, and it feels pretty fun. Then I'll do some front giants, I'll do a pirouette, and then I'll wind up the bar to do a Kovacs tap. Just get all my muscles loose and ready for that actual release if I decide to do it. And then I'll also warm up with a Tkachev tap for the first turn. After giants and taps, I'll move on to a basic sequence, and I'll just walk through what I'm doing and what it helps. So I'll start off with a mount. As you can see, this is the same front giant mount. Then from there, I do a hop and then a free hip. That's just stability and precision. Then I do a thing called a cow hop. That's pretty scary when you're learning it. Then I'll do a reverse pirouette. Then I'll do a pirouette into a half turn. Then I do a hop half, and then I do a hop half to one hand. That's pretty scary to learn. And then from there, I do the second part of a talk full. Then I do a pirouette, and then I connect that into a toe on, toe off, which translates into a dismount. So learning that was pretty difficult, but now that I've gotten the hang of it and I've been doing it for around 2 years, it isn't too hard. There's still some days where I have to do it more than I would like to get it down, but in general, I can get it done first turn. And I really try to hit all the handstands because on basics days, obviously, you're trying to minimize your deductions and really work on that technique. For my skill that I'm working on high bar, I chose to go with layout Tkachevs with an emphasis on focusing on the block. So this basically means how my hands approach the bar right there. And if I do it correctly, my arms will be straight and I'm pushing on the bar, which will allow me to be able to connect the Tkachevs when I actually go for the catch. So I did 8 of those Tkachev drills, and this one right here was the best one. What made it the best was just the trajectory. You could see a clear arc, and that block was also very defined. Right now, when I actually go for the catch and the block for the triple connection, it doesn't look like that, but ideally I'll be able to translate this drill and blocking off onto the mat to actually blocking off like that onto the real bar. Now I'm moving on to the conditioning portion of my workout, where I'll start off with an invert to Maltese. As you see right there, this is banded, so it can really help me figure out the positions and work on building that muscle. Next up is the planche to Maltese banded holds. Here I do lower band count, so it makes it harder to hold, but it's still high enough of a band count to be able to hold it with the correct positioning, which is my goal here. Also, quick little side note, if I don't specify how many sets I'm doing for a particular exercise, it's usually 3. I didn't film this, but I also did the Maltese block lever pushes, and then after that I worked on rehab and recovery. So that meant some back rehab, so I did some yoga ball dead bugs, as you see right here, and then I also did some shoulder rehab with a band. Anyways, that's pretty much what my Monday looks like in terms of the gymnastics. The goal here is just to get the ball rolling and really be calibrated so that the next workouts are really productive and high quality. So yeah, it was a pretty good day. It's gonna set me up to have a really good workout tomorrow and the day after that. So Mondays are super important. Make sure you're always doing your basics. Thanks for watching and please subscribe.